Well, imagine being 4 miles from land, stuck in a tiny room. You can't leave for weeks. One Pocatello resident lived through that scenario aboard a quarantined cruise ship. KPVI News that works for you journalist Cesar Cornejo has more on their vacation that turned into a nightmare.
And we were in very strict quarantine on the Rotterdam.
Jeannie Moore, a Pocatello resident, recounts the extensive quarantine she experienced on her nightmare trip. After disembarking from Buenos Aires on March 8th, Jeannie and her sister were on course for disaster.
And then the captain announced that Chile was going to close its borders. We needed to turn around and go back to Punta Arenas. And Holland America had made arrangements for all of us to get off there, fly home. And then Chile said no, they were closing their borders.
Bad news after bad news met the passengers once they found out that the disease was on the ship and 4 people had passed away. The MS Zandam then looked to dock anywhere.
Then when we got up to the Panama Canal, the Rotterdam had sailed south from a Mexican port. They had extra personnel, extra supplies, and at that time they transferred the well passengers over to the Rotterdam.
Things continued to get worse as they looked to return to the U.S.
We were just looking for a place that would take us. And finally, at first, the governor of Florida said no.
Finally, the ship was allowed to dock in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where Jeannie and her sister were able to return home. And even though she is back in Pocatello, healthy and safe, Jeannie is still feeling the effects of this ordeal.
But I still wake up anxious and worried, and so I know I'm having a lot of stress, even though I'm home.
In Pocatello, journalist Cesar Cornejo, KPVI, news that works for you.
The U.S. Coast Guard says there are 114 American cruise ships at port or just off the coast, with more than 93,000 crew members and an unknown number being treated for coronavirus.